I can remember my very first year on Easter morning. A lot of churches do a sunrise service. We happened to be in Florida, and on Easter morning we did a sunrise service at the Miami Aqua Marina, where we were there with an evangelist and a singer and ourselves. And that day we were performing at Key Biscayne Presbyterian Church. Well, that's the church that President Nixon would go to when he was in town. So it would happen to be Easter vacation time for him. And we got to go to service that Sunday morning and sit in the service, and there's Richard Nixon surrounded by his entourage and his bodyguards and stuff.
We sang at Minneapolis at the big stadium. No, it was a big convention center, I believe, there, with Paul Stuckey, who is one of my very favorites, and then also with Arthur Blessitt. And that was an amazing thing. And then Patty and I, Patty Parsons Tucson, were able to do a trio with Paul Stuckey. And that was just exciting to get to work with him in his dressing room. And we did the song Get Together by the Youngbloods.
But my very first one of those was in University of Washington. It was in the fall of 1969, and New Hope performed with Bob Hope and the Brothers Four. The Brothers Four were there. It was a homecoming. Brothers Four were originally a group from University of Washington. So that kind of thing was nice.
Occasionally we did play with some big name people, because we did with Bob Hope. We did a thing with him which was interesting, New Hope, Bob Hope. So that was kind of fascinating, being able to see somebody who I felt was a giant as far as entertainment was concerned. So that was kind of an interesting situation doing that.
I remember we met and played in a church basement, and we began our rehearsals together for a road show we had to head off for in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We were going to the Billy Graham Evangelistic Convention. It was a big deal, and we were some of the first groups out the door in the professional Christian music industry. I think we were the first, New Hope and Renaissance. But to go into the venue with the Billy Graham Evangelistic Organization and be featured in that was pretty significant at the time.
I think the most exciting part was the musicians, the people. I learned so much, and it was fascinating to get better because you were playing a lot. You were playing an awful lot. It's not like if you're just playing, doing the weekends or something as a musician or something like that, but every day we're getting up, we're playing. I also enjoyed playing with brass because they bring just a whole new feel. The capabilities of getting some really funky stuff going, the capabilities of getting more of an orchestral sound on some of the songs, the ballads, that type of thing. It was wonderful, plus their musicianship, at least for me, was amazing.
You got to remember, you're 19 years old and you learn so much stuff. And we would do concerts, you were there, we did 6 concerts a day at times. Always we averaged about 3 concerts a day. So you do 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, or maybe 2 in the afternoon, and then you do the evening concert.
Well, I have a wonderful memory of doing 5 shows in one day in Vancouver, British Columbia, from an O period in the morning until way late at night at the university.
That means getting on the bus early. I remember sleeping in a chair, thinking I can't go to sleep. I have to warm up my voice. We have an 8:30 concert, but I just couldn't keep myself awake. And then unloading, setting up, performing, tearing down, throwing it back in the bus, drive to the next place, try to get there in time, unload, set up, perform, tear it down, and you do that. So, to a lot of the kids, they go, wow, we'd love to do this. You guys are having so much fun. And of course, they didn't realize the work.
We didn't make a lot of money. We ate a lot of pimento cheese sandwiches. I don't think I've had pimento cheese since.
Of course, the payoff was standing ovations in high schools. Kids just went crazy. And that kind of fueled us. And then that's kind of where we learned a lot of our work ethic. And yeah, traveling around the world, singing or around the country seems like a lot of fun, but we'd kind of transitioned from being an amateur into being a professional and understanding what that meant in terms of performance. So it became a game for us to do everything perfect every note perfect, tight rhythm, until we got really pretty good. So we kind of prided ourselves into really doing the best we could.
I think it's an experience that not very many people will ever get to have. But I'm really grateful for the excellence that we were able to participate in.
On the other hand, we were a ministry group, the whole reason for us being there. So anytime you got a chance to talk to kids, talk to parents about their spirituality, about their life, and those were important times for us.
Singing a form of Christian music that was totally new and fresh, and singing before young people, teenagers that I wasn't much older than. I hadn't been out of high school that much longer. To me, that was just a new experience.
The ego thing is always a problem for everybody being on stage. It's always a problem. But beyond that, seeing people come to Christ, I mean, there's no substitute for that. No substitute at all. And seeing that actually happen and being a part of delivering that and seeing that feedback come back and knowing that people are being, transformed, I tell you what, there's, you get chills. It's wonderful to be a part of that.
It was exciting because my goal as part of the group was to reach them with the gospel and do it through music. And it was a very fulfilling thing for me to know that maybe something that I was singing about and doing was more than just entertainment. It had a purpose to influence somebody's lives for eternity.
I remember particularly a church in Minneapolis where the pastor had to prep the congregation before we came out, teaching on Psalm 150, and tried to offer a disclaimer and an apology almost to his congregation by affirming that David rang tambourines and the psalmist played all kinds of instruments in praise to the Lord, make a joyful noise. And so we came on prepared and we gave them a joyful noise.
The way that we related to each other as a family, funny things happening on the bus, I mean, in concerts, things that were said or things that were forgotten. I mean, there are times we were just laughing. I mean, I'm trying to think of some really funny things. Even now you look back and the times where we had to always push the bus to get it started.
Diesel bus fumes. Diesel bus fumes. We're just, because you live on the bus practically, and you combine that with other fumes that we all contributed to, and it's a wonder there's any sense of smell left in anybody.
The bus was the 14th member of our tour because the bus had a personality of its own. It either worked or it didn't. And usually it didn't start. And it was old bellows, and so you'd be going down the road like this, and or smoke coming out of it, or the oil, or whatever, and always having to start it. And so we had learned to always park it on a hill, even on the curb, so it'd give us just a little push when we started. Didn't take much.
There's a huge bond built on the road. It's not like a college experience. I equate it more to what military people go through in conflict, because you really do war. You're together 24 hours a day, and you have all the personal problems that exist in any relationships that come about, plus the fatigue of what you're doing, the passion of what you're doing, the disappointment sometimes when it isn't done at the level you think it should be. So it's full of emotions, but the bond is much closer than just about any other type of situations you're going to get in. I think also another thing I equate it to is I love sports, and it's a lot like a ball team, or I prefer hockey, of course. And how the athletes, you're working together, you're pitching in together. If you don't work together, it doesn't come off well. So that's the bond, and it's pretty strong.
There was that chemistry, that mix of people that just made it a joy, you know. Yeah, it just made it a joy. A lot of funny people.